I love overpowered abilities, period. I simply enjoy watching a character prove just how superior they are to everyone else in the room. There is something deeply satisfying about seeing a hero or a villain pull off a move so broken, so absolutely meta-breaking, that you just have to sit back and laugh at the sheer disrespect of it. But while we're having the time of our lives watching these characters flex, the writers are often living in a state of constant panic.
No, wait.
They can't say the same. To a writer, an overpowered ability isn't just a cool visual, it's a ticking time bomb. It's what I like to call the utility plot hole. It's that moment in a story where a power is so versatile, so useful, and so incredibly efficient that it threatens to end the movie in the first 10 minutes. And if the writer doesn't handle it perfectly, it doesn't just create a small gap in the logic, it holds the entire story back. It paralyzes the plot, makes the heroes look like idiots, and leaves the audience asking one very frustrating question. Wait, why don't they just use their powers in the obvious way? How do you write a character who should, by all accounts, end every fight in 1 second? That's the nightmare. And today, I want to talk about why these utility powers are so dangerous, and more importantly, how the best writers actually solve the problem without making their characters act like they have a room temperature IQ. Let's start with the stuff that keeps us all up at night, the why don't they just Hall of Fame. These are the moments where a power is so useful that it actually breaks the game. The most famous one in the last few years has to be the Ant-Man Thanos theory. We've all seen the memes. Why doesn't Scott Lang just shrink down to the size of an atom, enter an ear or a nose, and then grow to the size of a skyscraper? It's a joke, sure, but it points to a massive narrative failure. If you have a character who can bypass any external armor and then expand while inside someone's vital organs, physical strength becomes irrelevant. Thanos is an unstoppable force of nature, but his internal biology is still biological. If Scott does the thing, the movie is over. The writers knew this, so what did they do? They put him in house arrest for Infinity War. They physically removed him from the board because having a guy who can bypass all external defenses makes the entire struggle for the Infinity Stones feel a bit unnecessary. This is the first way a utility plot hole holds back a story, the bench. When a character is too useful, the writer sends them away. We saw it with Captain Marvel too. She's off-world for 90% of the battle because if she showed up at the start, Thanos would have been a smudge on the pavement before the first act break. It feels like the writer is cheating us out of seeing our favorite characters just because they can't figure out how to balance them. Then you've got the portal guillotine. In Infinity War, we see Wong open a portal to send a brute like Cole Obsidian away, and when the brute tries to jump back through, Wong closes the portal and severs his arm instantly. It was a cool creative move, but it was also a disaster for the script. By showing us that a portal can cut through top-tier durability like a hot knife through butter, the writers inadvertently gave Doctor Strange a win button. Why not just open a portal around Thanos' neck? Closing it would end the threat. But they can't let him do that, so instead we get the stupidity tax. The stupidity tax is when a character who is supposedly a master tactician suddenly acts like they've never used their powers before. They stand there, they trade slow punches, they wait for the villain to finish their monologue. They pay a tax in intelligence just so the movie can reach the 2-hour mark. It's frustrating because it makes the characters feel like puppets of the script rather than real people. When you have a solve everything button in your pocket but you refuse to press it, the previous build-up starts to feel pointless. But look, it's not all bad writing. There are ways to have your cake and eat it too. The best writers know that a power without limitations destroyed tension, but a power with meaningful limitations creates strategy. Instead of making the character dumb or putting them on the bench, they build the cost of the power into the world itself. Take Trafalgar Law from One Piece. His fruit, the Ope Ope no Mi, is the ultimate case study for this. Inside his room, he is basically the administrator of a server. He can swap people's souls, teleport objects, and cut them into 100 pieces without them even feeling it. On paper, this is a total utility plot hole. Why doesn't he just teleport the villain into the ocean? Why doesn't he just shambles their heart into a rock and crush it? Eiichiro Oda solved this with 2 distinct layers. First, the battery. Every time Law uses his utility, it drains his physical stamina. It's not just energy, it's his life force. He has to be extremely careful because if he misses, he's a sitting duck. Second, he introduced Haki. If your opponent's willpower and spirit are significantly stronger than yours, your glitch powers simply won't work on them. It's a narrative firewall. It prevents Law from just deleting the big villains while still letting him be a tactical powerhouse against everyone else. It forces him to engage in a real fight, making the utility a reward for strategy rather than a shortcut to victory. Then you have Katara and bloodbending. This is how you solve an OP power through character work. Bloodbending is the most broken ability in the Avatar universe. Katara can turn anyone into a puppet. She could walk into the Fire Nation palace and end the war in a single night. So why doesn't she? It only works during a full moon, but the real fix was the moral lock. Katara views the power as a violation of the soul. Every time she uses it, she is visibly traumatized. In that famous scene in the Southern Raiders where she stops the rain and nearly kills the man who took her mother, we see just how terrifyingly capable she is. She could solve the problem instantly, but she chooses her own morality over the easy win. This is high-level writing. It turns a potential plot hole into a character arc. We aren't asking, why doesn't she just bloodbend? Because we know the cost it has on her heart. The power stays incredibly strong, but it no longer breaks the story because the character herself is the limitation. The same thing applies to Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. She can rewrite reality, remove people's mouths, and turn them into cubes. She is the definition of a utility nightmare. But the writers handle her as a glass cannon. She is a human being with a fragile mental state. In Multiverse of Madness, we see what happens when she doesn't hold back, but we also see how her own emotional instability and the physical vulnerability of her human body keep her from being untouchable. She can warp the world, but a well-placed surprise attack or a moment of mental conflict can still take her down. Her utility is a win button, but she's always one distraction away from losing her grip on it. Even something as absolute as the Death Note follows this rule. Light Yagami has the power to kill anyone on the planet instantly. That's a massive utility problem, but the writers added an information gate. He needs a name and a face. This one simple limitation turns a story about instant death into a high-stakes detective game. The power is still 100% absolute, but because it requires a specific set of circumstances to activate, the story can thrive. He has the tool, but he has to earn the right to use it through intelligence. And of course, we have to talk about the Infinity Gauntlet, the ultimate utility, the delete half of everything button. The reason it doesn't feel like a plot hole in Infinity War is that the writers established a mortal cost. The Gauntlet is a suicide switch. Using it nearly destroys Thanos, permanently cripples the Hulk, and outright kills Tony Stark. The power stays top tier, but the user's body simply can't handle the voltage. Every use becomes a massive, story-altering decision. You don't just use it, you use it when there is literally nothing else left to try. What we learn from all of this is that when an OP ability isn't handled well, it stops being a power and starts being a hurdle. The writers end up benching their best characters or forcing them to act stupid just to keep the plot moving. But when they get it right, when they give Law a stamina drain, or Katara a moral compass, or Wanda a fragile heart, then the power actually propels the story forward. A character who can solve everything instantly is a character who has nothing to lose. And a story with no stakes is just a very expensive light show. The audience doesn't stay for the cool factor, they stay to see the struggle. They want to see the hero win despite their limits, not because they had a win button the whole time. This is why limitations are the most important tool in a writer's kit. They turn a glitch into a character. They turn a shortcut into a journey. When the rules of the power are clear, the audience starts playing along. They start thinking about the strategy. They start worrying about the character's stamina or their mental state. The power becomes a part of the tension rather than the thing that destroys it. So the next time you see a character with a broken, reality-bending, fight-ending ability, don't just ask, why don't they win? Look for the limit. Look for the cost. Because that's where the real story is hiding. The power gets us into the theater, but the limitations are what keep us in our seats. Because at the end of the day, an unbeatable character with no weaknesses isn't a hero. They're just a script error. And a good story isn't about the power. It's about the person trying to do the right thing within the rules. We don't need our characters to be perfect. We need them to be pushed to their limits. So, let's get more creative with these absolute powers, and maybe they'll start feeling a lot more human. Limitations aren't there to hold the character back. They're there to make the victory mean something. Without them, you don't have a story. You just have a very short clip that ends with a snap, a portal, or a shrink and grow move that everyone saw coming a mile away. Let's keep the stakes high, the costs heavy, and the stories worth telling.